Welcome back to another exciting video. What we're talking about today are the top 5 reasons that I am leaving Adobe Premiere. So, as you may have noticed, I have been gone for quite some time. I started this channel years and years and years and years ago, and just kind of started to get into it and get things going, and then life got in the way, as life often does. Got married, got divorced, moved away. There for about a couple of years. When I moved, I sold all my video business. I had a video production company up here where I currently reside at right now, and it was actually making really good traction. I had some really good clients, really good accounts, but I ended up moving to Alabama. And when I got down there, excuse me, if any of you have ever started a video production company, you know how hard it is to get these things up and running. So when I got down there, I just ended up selling everything that I had. And was down there for a while, and then I moved back up to my home where I'm at now. And my daughter called me, and she's like, "Dad, let's start the video company back up." And I was like, "Well, all right. Going to be expensive, but you know what? Let's do it." So I went out and just started buying all my gear back. And you know, if you've bought gear, how expensive gear is. And I bought a lot of gear, as you can tell. I mean, I even bought an entire podcast room. Because I love doing podcasts. And a lot of the reason I was gone for so long, besides the getting married, getting divorced, and moving all over the place, when I was down in Alabama, I was down there during the COVID lockdown. And oh my God, it was just miserable down there. I mean, we were on lockdown forever. And I was in a place where I didn't know a soul. And I was still working, of course, while I was down there. But I mean, the entire state was locked down indefinitely. And so I got really, really bored, and I started my music channel, which I absolutely have a great time on. And I've spent a bit of time on that music channel because I'm a musician. I play guitar and piano, and I absolutely love my music channel. And I've also started a podcast where I talk a lot about politics, but it's really just a podcast that talks about everything. Unfortunately, it's just been politics lately because the world's on fire right now, and there's just so much to talk about because, got to be honest, right now the government is a gaffe machine, and it's, man, it's hard not to talk about it. 'Cause, I mean, it's just line up the disasters and see what's going to hit next. So it's kind of been hard not to talk about that. But in the interim of looking around over all this stuff and constantly going through YouTube, getting ideas for my music channel, and so on and so on and so on, I came across my own film channel. And it had been, I don't know, 7 years since I had done anything on it. And I thought, man, I've got to get that back started one day because I love doing film and I love doing what I do because I've got the business started back up, and I do TV commercials and stuff right now, and corporate projects and so on and so on. And finally I got to a point where I was like, you know what? I think it's time. So I had to go out and buy all my gear, bought new cameras. I'm actually shooting through Blackmagic 6K right now. And just had to replace a lot of stuff before I could actually get back on board with the film channel, because it's kind of hard to do a film channel when you don't have anything to shoot film with. So enough about that. I am back, and we're going to get this thing rocking and rolling because I got a lot of stuff coming up to talk about on this, and so it should be pretty cool. So on that note, let's get this thing moving forward with the top 5 reasons I am leaving Adobe Premiere, starting with the big number 1. The number 1 reason I'm leaving Adobe Premiere is I am sick and tired of round tripping. What do I mean by round tripping? I'll show you right here. Let's jump in here and let's get a Premiere opened up. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drop some footage in from one of my clients. Let's see. Let's go to the desktop. Should be right here. All right. What we've got here, I'll just drag this down here. This is just some footage I shot inside with one of my drones. He has a pool store, but he also sells billiards and stuff. So he was doing a commercial for the billiards, so I just took my drone in there, to be honest with you, and I just flew it overhead, as you can see right here, just to kind of get an, overhead shot of what's going on here. So, and ultimately, I did not use this footage, but I do have a bad habit of keeping everything. I mean, I've got terabytes of footage that I got to start deleting, because you never know, down the road you might need something. So we're just going to use this for the sake of argument. So let's say I got to put some text on here. I'm going to do some graphic work. Now, there's some stuff you can do in Premiere, but if you want to do any type of detailed graphics works, then you're going to have to go over to After Effects. So this is one of the things that I can't stand. So now I've got to highlight my footage, got to right-click on it, and I got to replace with After Effects composition. Now I get to wait. All right, as you can see, it's going to ask you to save the project since this is a working project through Premiere. So we're just going to save it as Untitled Project, save it to the desktop. Okay, for the sake of argument, let's say we're going to get this where we get some movement on here, and we're going to highlight, and we're going to set a new beginning point. So let's just move this down. And then we'll just go to 4 seconds, and we'll just set a new endpoint. I've been used to working on my PC so much that I'm literally forgetting how to do anything on a Mac. So let's trim this down. And we're going to trim comp to work area. So here we have our comp right here. So we're going to keep this pretty simple just so you can see what I'm talking about. So we're just going to throw some text up here, and let's put in the word sell. Now, granted, we could do this in Premiere. Now, normally I would come to After Effects if I'm going to do some extensive graphic work, which I'm not doing right now. But let's say we take this and we're just going to throw this on there. Let's see. We're going to duplicate the layer. And then we're going to change the color of this layer. Let's just change it to white. I am not using a mouse, I'm using the trackpad, so bear with me for a second for trying to do this with a trackpad. So we're just going to throw this on here, highlight it, move it over, go down to text, go down to mask. And what we're going to do is we'll do that here in a second. We're going to do the mask path. So we're at the beginning, we're going to set a keyframe. We'll move this down to the end of the comp. Highlight this, drag it across, and you can see how I've got such a sharp edge on it. So we're going to fix that right here, even though this is not what this is about. So you can see it's got the sharp edge, so we're just going to go ahead and feather this out, kind of smooth out those edges a little bit. Then we're going to take this top layer, and we are going to go to Effects, Stylize. And we're going to put a glow on it. Now we've got the glow, we're going to increase the glow radius a little bit, like that. And then this is what this looks like. Okay, like I said, now normally if I was coming into After Effects, I would be doing a lot more work than this. But this is just for demonstration purposes only. So now we got to hit Command S, and we got to save. And now we got to go back to Premiere. And the constant round tripping, to me, is just an incredible amount of time wasted. When you're doing a serious project and you end up round tripping this thing to Adobe Audition and After Effects, and you're 20, 30 round trips in, that is a tremendous amount of time that you are burning up, going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And it just got to the point to me where it was just, there had to be better alternatives. And there are now. There are better alternatives than this. So on that reason, I got to thinking, time is money when you're editing. And if you do any editing or any type of compositing, you understand that. You have deadlines. You got to go. You have to go. And I need all the time I can get my hands on between my band, because I'm a musician and I play in a very actively gigging band, running my podcast channel, running my music channel, now getting back into my film channel, running my film business. Time is critical for me. Always up against deadlines. And this is just a huge waste of time for me. So that is the number one. That is not the number one. These are not in order as in best to worst. That is just, you know what? We're going to turn this around. This is the number 5 reason that I am leaving Premiere. Moving on. The number 4 reason I am leaving Premiere is the constant timeline rendering. That gets exhausting for me. What am I talking about? When I'm in After Effects, let me pop open After Effects here. Now, this is a very simple graphic. This isn't that big of a deal. So rendering this is not that time consuming. Now, granted, I'm not going to sit here and build some massive graphic to demonstrate this. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to grab this and I'm just going to move this off frame. And then I'm going to go to position. Don't know why I've got it open on that one. And I'm going to set a keyframe. And then I'm going to come over 5 frames. And then I'm going to move this back over. Get it in the center, right about there. It's pretty good. Then I'm going to turn on motion blur. And then, as you can see, as small as this is, hang on, let me turn this other graphic off here, because that one requires nothing. But as small as that was for that 5 frames, watch how it has to render that. Well, we've already rendered. So tell you what, let's take this and let's move this down, because we're going to have to re-render this now. But on these 5 frames, watch this. Okay, well, that's not very long. Yeah, but that's 5 frames. But just think if you're doing this over 30 frames, 50 frames, 400 frames, which I have done. The constant rendering so I can see what's happening coming back is an absolute nightmare for me. And I'm sure it's a nightmare for everybody else. Because if I had multiple things coming in here with a bunch, let's throw another one up here. Let's just put today up here. And we're going to move this one and set it right here. And we're going to set a keyframe. So we're going to hit position, keyframe. Let's go back to 1. I'm so used to working on my PC. It's not weird having all my stuff. I do not edit on a laptop. And then we're going to scoot this over. We're going to hold shift when we do it, because that keeps it from going up and down. It'll just keep it on a straight line. And then we're going to turn on motion blur again. Now, those are not long renders, but there's also nothing happening here. And this is just one tiny graphic with a little bit of motion blur on it. And like I said, when you're getting into massive projects, and then every time you make a change, you have to re-render this. And this is nothing. So I stop this, grab today, I move it over here. I decide I don't want there. Well, again, now I got to re-render to see it back to be played in real time. Well, here's the other thing. Then I hit Command S, and then I kick back over to Premiere. Guess what? Now I have to render in Premiere. See this red bar? Now I got to render in here. So now I got to hit return, and I got to wait for this to render. And this is nothing. Just think if you're working on a serious project where you've just got tons of information inside of here. You've got time, layer after layer after layer after layer, and you got things happening on every layer. When I do a 30-second spot we'll just use this client in particular. When I do a 30-second spot, there is so much graphics on it. It takes me forever to render these things while I'm working in After Effects. And and that's even turning layers off and on. But sometimes you got to have multiple layers on to see how the whole thing, how cohesive the entire thing is. And then every time I save that change, when I come back into Premiere, I have to re-render that over again. So what I used to do is I used to actually build it in Premiere. And then I would round trip over to AE, do the work, save it, come back, render, back to AE, we do the work, save it, render. And that just got exhausting. So I got to the point where I actually started just doing the entire commercial in After Effects. I would put the audio into Premiere, set my markers where I needed to make changes on my scenes, and then I would go to After Effects and build the entire project, because that round tripping back and forth and the constant rendering was getting exhausting, and it's still exhausting in After Effects because there's so much graphic work in order for me to see it in real time. Even when I cut the resolution down, I'm still constantly rendering to see things in real time. And that is an absolute nightmare. And it's hard to, After Effects is not an editor, but the round tripping was taking so much time. I just started doing it in After Effects, and that's not a good workflow, but I found it to be a faster workflow than round tripping back and forth and constantly having to render every time I made a change. Moving on to the number 3 reason I'm leaving Adobe. Back to rendering. I don't know how many times I have done a project for a client, and then I send it over to the queue. I click render. However long it takes. Some things do take a while to render. But the problem is it notoriously gets to 99% and stops. And I don't mean stops for a few seconds. I have literally had it sitting there one time for over 4.5 hours at 99%. I finally called Adobe and I'm like, what the hell, dude? This is time after time after time. I'm having this issue with this. This is ridiculous. I'm losing time and losing money. You all should be reimbursing me for all the time I'm wasting on your software from stupid things like this. So then they go in and they come in and they look at my system, and of course there's nothing wrong with it. And then we'll export one out in a different format. Well, that's fine, but that's not the format I need to send to air. When you're sending stuff to air, you render it out in H.264 around here. So then I go back to H.264 and it'll render up to 99%, and then it stops again. So I'm back on the phone with Adobe. They're back in my computer. Did you do all your updates? And yes, I did all my updates. Have you done this? Have you done this? Yes, I've done that. And then miraculously, it'll work for 2 or 3 times. And then all of a sudden I go back, render, 99%, stops again, and just completely hung up right there. That is unbelievably frustrating to me. I have lost more time waiting on this to finish a render. I can't even count how many times it has got stuck on 99%. And it got to the point where it just wasn't worth it to me anymore. And this is one of the reasons why I started editing in After Effects, because I could render it out in After Effects and then put it in Premiere, and it seemed to work better half the time. But when I was doing the work back and forth and round tripping, it hardly ever worked. It'd get to 99% and just stop. Never got a reason from Adobe why this happened, but then I would go on the internet and I would start looking at it, and there would just be thousands and thousands of complaints of people having the same issue. So I finally got to the point where I had had enough. So that is the number 3 reason why I am leaving Adobe Premiere. The number 2 reason I am leaving Adobe Premiere, the constant crashing. If you use Adobe products, I'm not talking about Photoshop or InDesign or anything like that, but if you use Premiere or if you use After Effects, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. I have had this software crash on me so many times. It just got to the point where it was getting so frustrating trying to work through here. And that is another big reason also why I started looking for alternate methods, because I was just over the crashing. I started using this on CS4, and in my opinion, CS4 is the best version they ever made. I had CS4, used it forever, and then I finally upgraded to CS 5.5 and used it forever. I did come up with CS6. I also bought a copy of CS6. Now, luckily, I bought that version used from somebody. So it wasn't that ridiculous. What was it, $14.95 back then? Something insane that Adobe charges for this. And then, of course, after I used CS6 for a while, and then I finally jumped onto the Creative Cloud because they just quit supporting their older software, which I think is, well, I'm just going to say it, I think it's bullshit. They just quit supporting the older software. And, you know, because they want to keep you moving. They want to keep you on the new products. So the crashing was never ending. And it crashed so often that now I have a habit that when I am working, I will make a change and Control S, make a change, Control S, make a change, Control S, or Command S on a Mac, make a change, Command S. I bet if I work on it for 3 hours, I bet I hit Control S or Control S because I don't edit on Macs, or Command S. I bet I will hit it 1,000 times. I'm so used to it crashing that I'm constantly paranoid I'm going to lose what I've been doing. Yeah, now it has its autosaves, that is true, but it doesn't autosave nowhere near enough. And what I need to do is go in here and find my crash reports on my PC. I bet it's 20 gigabytes big. I've got so many crash reports in there, it is not funny. And I keep sending them over to Adobe because when it crashes, it pops up a little thing to send it over to. And I keep doing it, but nothing ever gets resolved. So, and to add to that, when they came out with 2022, when I was on the 2021, I did the updates to 2022. Nothing worked. Nothing worked. I spent 3 days and not countless hours on the phone with Adobe, with them in my computers, trying to figure out why it would not work. And they couldn't figure it out. Finally, they recommended I go back to 2021 and let them get some updates under their belt. So I finally, and I mean finally, 5 days ago, just switched over to 2022. I've been on 2021 this whole time. So I just couldn't get it to work. And I didn't want to be in the middle of it and have problems in the middle of a project. So, and it's down to the point now to where it was just getting ridiculous for just the amount of crashes that I was having. So it's a crash fest. That's all there is. So on that note, that is the number 2 reason why I am leaving Adobe Premiere. And now for the number 1 reason I am leaving Adobe. And I guarantee you, you know exactly what I'm about to say. The never-ending payment to Adobe. I am sick and tired of paying for this endlessly. At least when they made the CS series, I'm assuming it started with CS1. I got to be honest, I don't know. I jumped on CS4, and I do believe there was a CS3. But CS3, 4, 5, 5.5, and 6, you could buy those and be done. Now, granted, the prices were ridiculous on them, so I always looked for used copies of them. And even the used price was ridiculous. But it has got to a point to where I no longer, now back years ago, I used to be a video producer for this company, but I used to help them do graphic design. So I used Illustrator, I used InDesign, and Photoshop, stuff like that. Excuse me, my allergies are terrible this year. But I don't use those products anymore because I no longer do graphic design. So then it got to where I just run my video company. Photoshop every once in a blue moon. And I'm talking 0.05% of the time, Photoshop. Most of it was spent in Adobe and After Effects. But you're still paying $50 a month. Even though you have access to all the programs, you're still paying $50 a month just to use 2 programs. Well, about 6 months ago, because of all the problems I've had out of the Adobe products, I found a different NLE that I've been using that I absolutely love, and that's for another video. So I have not used Premiere, and I cannot tell you how long. It's probably been 6, 7 months since I've used it. I do, however, still use After Effects because I spent years learning how to use After Effects, and I've bought countless plugins for After Effects. So it's kind of a bummer that I'm moving away from the Adobe infrastructure altogether, because I have spent a lot of time on After Effects, and I do like After Effects. But I'm tired of the never-ending payment to Adobe. That is exhausting to me. And in a day and age where everybody's trying to do this, but you have a couple of companies, just pay it. It's yours forever. and you get all your updates for free. But here's the caveat to Adobe. Now that I've been using some of these other NLEs and compositors, Adobe feels extremely dated and old and clunky compared to what I'm using now. This was great 10 years ago, this format they've got. But in today's world of editing, it just doesn't work. Not only is the Adobe products incredibly slow, and I mean incredibly slow. I don't care how much power you have. It's never going to, the system is never going to be optimized. And it has a terrible workflow. And I'm paying for this. I'm paying for something that crashes all the time, very slow, constantly needs to be rendered, and has an extremely outdated GUI. Extremely outdated. Using the newer stuff, this feels like this is archaic. And like I said, it's very clunky feeling now. And it's just, there's just other products on the market that are just so much better than this. So, and add to it the never-ending cost to use this program. So, like I said, I'm down to 2 programs now. So you're paying the $50 a month. And I got to be honest, I have not even seen if that's what they're still charging me, because I guarantee you it's gone up since then. So let's just take a look real quick. Let's see what we're dealing with. Oh, there's QWERTY. That's from my music channel. Downloaded that amp for a piano. It's going to be very, very cool. Let's see. Adobe CC. Let's go here. Limitless creativity for all. For all, if you want to continue paying for their stuff for the rest of your life. Well, they got a free trial, so I guess that's nice. All right, buy now. Let's see what we got going on here. Because I was paying $50 a month, or $49.99. So let's see. Let's check out the business site here. So if you have a business, Creative Cloud, all apps, $84.99 a month per license. So if you register this as a business and you got 2 people using it, now you're paying $85 a month for 2 people to use this. That is insane to me. And that does not include tax. Or single app, $36 a month. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. Let's see what individuals are. You get all of Creative, so they did go up. It is now $54.99 a month, which is, I'm sure that's what they're charging me now. It's $54.99 a month to use one app. So let's say I just want to use the one app. Let's say I just want Premiere and After Effects, because I don't want to use all this stuff. I don't need this because I do video production. So let's see what we got here. Okay, Premiere, $29.99, $21. And After Effects, $21. So you're paying $42 to use these 2 programs every month, as opposed to $56 to get everything. This is a ripoff. There's no reason to do this anymore. So after tax, you're paying $50 a month, $600 a year to use just Premiere and After Effects. Now, that's not a lot of money, but it's a lot of money when there's better alternatives and you're not using such an old interface. It's just something so clunky, plus the never-ending rendering, plus the never-ending dynamic linking to everything. It's just not worth it anymore. So I am actually in the process of learning a new compositor right now. And as soon as I get my hands wet on it a little bit, then After Effects is gone too. It's all going to be gone. So the number one reason I am leaving Adobe, let's see what the student teacher is real quick. Okay, if you're a student or a teacher, you get it for $20 a month until you get out of school. Well, that's easy. Just don't ever tell them you're out of school. Just let it run forever. They'll never check. So that would be the smart thing to do. So the number one reason, again, that I'm leaving Adobe Premiere is the never-ending, tied, binded, chained payment just to use their programs. I am done with that. Adobe, I'm tired of you all tapping my bank account every single month for $50, $60, especially when I'm down to one program now, especially considering how outdated your programs are. Now, if you're a Photoshop guy, I kind of understand that. Photoshop is the end-all be-all when it comes to this. Let's be honest. Photoshop is the end-all be-all. And if I was in a situation where I was doing graphic design and I was doing video editing, because you do get Illustrator. Illustrator's pretty nice. You get InDesign. When we were building the brochures, InDesign was fantastic. You do get Audition. I did use Audition. I used Audition quite a bit, but I don't even use that anymore. And sadly, I do like Audition. But it's to the point, it's just not worth it anymore. Because if I was doing Audition, After Effects, and Premiere, and you got to have Audition, because you got to, if you're not working your sound, then you're not editing. You're just shooting shit and throwing it up on YouTube. So now you're at $21, you're at $63 for those three. All right. There's no deal there. Better to get the full package and get a bunch of stuff you don't need. This needs to be, I'm going to be honest, $9.99 for Premiere, $9.99 for After Effects. In today's market, where you can get much better software that you only got to pay one fee for, you buy it, and then you're done, and then you get your upgrades for the rest of your life. Why is anybody in today's world still using Adobe products? That is my rant about Adobe. I am done ranting about them. So the next video is going to be what I am using currently now. And I absolutely love my software. And I guarantee you, if you watch this video, you can guess exactly what software I am using now for my NLE and for my compositing. So on that note, I'm going to wrap this thing up right here. If you are into music, by all means, check out my music channel. You can find it under Trace Taylor. I will put a link in the description to my music channel. And I'm going to close this up with something I always do say on my music channel. It's one of my favorite little bits, one of my favorite little sayings, one of my favorite little snippets by Mr. Sammy Hagar himself when he was playing with the incredible Van Halen. I just got to do it. I'm going to have to use this for all my channels, apparently, this one thing. Like the great Sammy Hagar says, if you miss the beat, you lose the rhythm and nothing falls into place. And that is something you can live your entire life by. It doesn't matter what it is. Relationships, work, editing, music, it does not matter. If you miss the beat, you will lose the rhythm. And then nothing falls into place. Until the next time, this is not my music channel. Still, rock on.